Your robotics team is probably like mine when I first started doing marketing, and that was we made post after post on social media and barely got any likes or views, unless it came from my mom. Sorry, mom. But what if I told you that there was one primary thing that you could do right now that would immediately make your content more engaging and get you more views, more likes, and more reach? In this video, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. Now, before I get into the main part of this video, if you're liking this kind of content and you want to learn more about how to use effective marketing for your FIRST Robotics team, make sure you subscribe to my channel because that's all I post about. So before we start thinking about making content for our team, we need to first make sure that we understand what is the goal that we have in mind before we start making this content. And there's two things you need to consider. One, who is your content for? If you're going to make something, whether it be on social media or it's an in-person event or it's an email or a newsletter, who is going to read it? And secondly, once they've read it, what do you expect them to do? Because you need to have that in mind before you even start. If you don't know who you're talking to or who your content is for, then it's really difficult to know what kind of content you should make or how you should structure it to essentially achieve the goal you're trying to do. So keep your audience in the forefront of your mind and what do they want to see. Remember, especially when you're on social media, you are competing with every piece of content that comes across that person's social media feed. That means their friends, their family, other content creators that are making entertaining content, all of that stuff. Your FIRST Robotics content has got to compete with all of that for that person's attention. And if you're not making it interesting enough, they're just going to scroll right on past because it's just not what they're looking for. And so this brings me to the biggest tip that you can start doing right now that will make your content better. And that is you need to have a good hook. Now, if you're not new to marketing, you probably know what a hook is. However, if you don't know what a hook is, I'm glad that you're here because I'm going to help you understand. A hook is for a video, the first 3 to 5 seconds of that video that someone is going to watch. And the purpose of the hook is to make sure that they are hooked in to watching the rest of your video, or at least further in than the first 3 seconds without clicking off and going somewhere else. Now that's the hook for a video, but every piece of content that you put out, whether again it be on social media or it be an email or be in person, needs to have a hook of some kind. Typically when it comes to a written post, like with words and pictures, the hook is going to be the first sentence that is in that post that someone is going to read without having to click the see more button. So for platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can write all kinds of information in a social media post, but it's only going to show the first couple lines, typically what I would consider above the fold, which for those that are older like me, comes from a newspaper. That was the first headline someone would read before they would unfold the newspaper. This concept still applies even now when you're doing marketing content. If that person reads that first bit and they don't find it interesting, they're not going to read the rest, in which case you spent a whole lot of time and energy making a piece of content that ultimately no one saw anyway. So when you're creating your content, think about what is your hook going to be. It could be the first 5 seconds of your video. It could be the first couple lines of your copy, or it could be the visual that you're putting on screen that someone is going to be scrolling on their phone. They're going to see it and they're going to stop and pay attention. Now, not every hook needs to be jaw-dropping or, extraordinary in order to get people's attention. It just depends on who you're talking to and what would catch their attention that they would find interesting, which is why you need to have your audience in mind before you even start making content. One strategy that I like to use when writing my hooks is the but, therefore strategy. And this strategy comes from creating conflict within the viewer when they are looking at your content. And it basically works like this. If you were to read the sentences or the script of your video or whatever you're writing, and you can fit the words "and" between every sentence, it's not interesting enough. However, if you write it in such a way that you can fit the words but, therefore, it's automatically going to be more interesting because now you're introducing conflict. In fact, I started this video out using this exact strategy. In those first few seconds, I was utilizing this to try to hook you in by talking about a pain point you probably have and the reason why you're probably watching this video. By doing that, I'm hoping that you're going to lean in and listen to the rest of what I have to say, and again, hopefully gain value out of my video and subscribe to my channel. Now, once you've got someone to read through your content or watch your video, the last thing that you should utilize is a call to action. A call to action is just essentially telling the viewer what you want them to do when they're done reading your content or viewing your content. A lot of the times it could be follow us on our social media pages, like this post. Your call to action is going to be whatever makes the most sense for your team's goal and what you're trying to achieve, and the audience that you're talking to that makes sense for them to do. And no matter what you're doing, you're going to want to have a call to action at some point in your post because you want to put a subliminal message out there to your viewer to take some action that you want them to take, which will, again, get your team closer to the goal you're trying to achieve with your marketing content. So, my 3 tips for you that you can start doing right now for your FIRST Robotics team when marketing is 1, make sure that you have your audience in mind before you start making your content. 2, what is the goal that you're trying to achieve by this person viewing your content? And 3, utilize a hook for every piece of content that you make, whether it be a video, written word, or just visuals. And the last one, have a call to action for your viewer to take when they're done, which will get your team closer to the goal that they're trying to achieve. I hope with those tips that will help your FIRST Robotics team make better marketing content and ultimately help your team achieve the goals that you have set out for yourself. Again, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more about how you can use effective marketing to help your FIRST Robotics team achieve their goals. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.